My name, my name tag.
It's iPhone John Nix,
And Siegel.
aka iPhone Johnny.
Look at, because I can just send that on my. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Oh, good, great. Good girl.
Yeah, we got good group.
Yeah.
Upstairs, I guess. I don't know why it's not taking. Yeah, I mean,
Welcome everyone. Why don't we,
you can
we'll
hear,
get
right?
started here. My name is Mark Siegel. I'm on the board of the sailing school. With me here in the room are a few people that are on the building committee, Bill Barnett, Terry Britton, and Laura Kottke. It's great to see so many people dialed in and interested in what's going on, and feel free to turn your cameras on or leave them off. Either way, we're gonna just give you some updates, and then there should be plenty of time for questions if anything comes up. So this is exciting times to be a member of the yacht club and member or kind of a patron of the sailing school. We have a lot of really great things happening. We started this project really about back in July, and to look at our favorite island and favorite yacht club and see what we could do about it and kind of get it ready for the next generation of sailors. And so that's taken us down this road that we're traveling on, and it's really exciting to be part of this. So the four of us and some of the other people that are on this call here are part of this building committee that we have. And the building committee has been working with a outside design and architecture firm to explore what our options are for the island. And we've gone through this kind of journey that Tara's gonna walk you through, and we're gonna update you now on. But we want to kind of warn you and put a caveat on all this. None of this is done. We are trying to do nothing but keep everyone as updated as possible, but with where we're going. This is not a final product. This is us just pausing for this evening to kind of show you where we're at. These plans are literally the final plan you're going to see tonight was literally done about 5 or 6 hours ago. And so it's all of this is very fluid and kind of just being done. So this is not final. Our target is still roughly April 1st to have something that's complete and can be presented to the membership and to the community. But we made a commitment to try to keep everyone updated as much as possible along the way, which is what we're doing. So Tara's going to take it away, and then we can update on just other elements of the project towards the end here. And we're going to cross our technology fingers here and hopefully be able to show you these plans.
Okay.
All right.
That's not it. Yeah, we're gonna start with this one. Okay, hi, everybody. So we're gonna start with this plan, and I just kind of want to tell you how we got here. So you saw the plans from the initial option that kind of the small group of us put together, and then we had 2 in-person feedback sessions along with a survey that went out. And so from that, our building committee got together, took all the results from that, and we started fresh with the architect. We just kind of re-looked at this from what the membership was wanting. A couple of the big takeaways were maximizing the views of the island. It's a big piece of why people come out there. Making sure we have more patio space, a bigger observation deck on the second level. So we kind of have reorientated the way the event hall goes. Other takeaways from the first plan is people felt like it was sprawling and a lot of the green space was being taken up, and that was a concern. So we heard that and kind of really worked on that piece of it. What I'm going to tell you about what you're seeing here is a big piece of the final project will be a new dock system. And we've had a few people working really hard on kind of what's needed to house all of the LMSS boats, along with making more transient parking for power boats, some opportunities for larger power boats to come tie up at the island, a lot as well as along with staying within our LMCD regulations, a big piece of that. So what you're seeing there is kind of the plan and how the docking system is looking, and kind of our goal right now that along with the new building, this docking system would come into play. But in our, we're going to move on to the next screen where it's going to show you the 2 levels that we got to. So from the feedback from the first sessions, it was really felt like we wanted a bigger, more substantial, kind of impressive building out there, and making sure it wasn't taking up the entire island. So we worked really hard and over time landed on this 2-story plan. Which we really focused on the needs of storage from MYC, from the race committee to the furniture storage, kitchen space, and then LMSS storage and workshop. And together, really, when you see a workshop space, LMSS and MYC are gonna share that with, separate tool sheds and things they can lock up inside there. But we're working together on kind of some of the spaces and how they're getting used, but making sure everything has a home that everyone's kind of put on their needs list. Where we got to on this plan is we did kind of, this landed at just under 11,000 square feet. The first plan that you maybe had seen, if you got to see it, was just over 11,000 square feet. So we were pretty close to 2 plans that were almost apples to apples in size, and we put them out for bid. What we found and have learned is that building on an island is expensive. There's just cost to hauling goods like the demolition off the island and bringing things out to the island, as all of you would know. I'm sure you assumed, but we didn't really have an idea of what the number behind that was. So we definitely saw a huge difference in the pricing of these 2 plans, like the first one that you saw and this 2-story that really came from our membership feedback. So as a group, we sort of challenged ourselves is, do we need just under 11,000 square feet? Do we still have too much building? And really it came down to LMSS and really analyzing our classroom spaces, and do we need as much as was being provided in the second plan? And what we also realized is, as we're thinking about it, on the second floor of this plan, we had all of our classrooms for kids, and it was not really something our coaches love the idea of kids up and down the stairs on a daily basis, like in their classes, wet feet, kind of, cruising around was probably not the best safety decision-making. So over the last few weeks, that's a big piece of where we've been reworking and seeing how can we now go getting closer to a 1-story plan. And what I should also say, what we learned in a 2-story plan is we'll definitely need different foundation systems to kind of secure a heavier weight.
This is Tara Ingebrigtsen.
Yeah.
Still high school parent like yourself, like her.
Oh, yeah. The foundation will be something that we need to take into consideration, of course, but with the island and how it is, it's a really important part that we keep talking about. So as we're trying to get down to a 1-story plan. We actually had one, like we said, literally hot off the presses this morning. This is our newest plan. We're calling this option 3. It takes it down to a 1-story on the east side of the building, while keeping in the front that big observation deck on a second level gives us the height. I wonder if you should show the photo from the exterior.
The second plan.
Yeah, let us just first show you an exterior of the second plan, because in case you hadn't seen that western view that you'll see there, where we have kind of that big upper deck, on the bottom left corner of that western view is a screened-in porch. Up above it, it would not be screened in, but they'd be big deck space all the way across where we could have tables, chairs. So really, all of us could sit across there. Unlike grill nights, things like that, really great patio space. The entire building, we are going to turn a few degrees towards Big Island, so we get kind of those long views looking towards Big Island. And if you go back to the original yacht club, it actually sat a little more at that angle. So we're kind of working on the perfect angle for it, and we're not quite there, but it's something we're looking at. But we did like the front of this building, and we wanted to keep that upper deck. And so this plan that was kind of finalized or whatever off the print today does still have that big front deck for everyone to utilize. What it does is the deck kind of wraps around the sides, and then the stairs go down. And then the classrooms are down on the main floor. And we minimize the size of the classrooms. Our goal in this school at LMSS is while we have more classrooms, which is fantastic, we still want it to feel like summer camp when kids come out here. So the idea is a classroom is where it's their home base. They leave their backpack. They settle in the morning, get a lesson, but before they know it, they're kind of outside, getting on the water, around on the grass. We're not planning for it to be classroom sterile settings. We don't want it to feel like they're back in school. It's still like summer camp. So we didn't want to have too much space where we just weren't, pushing kids outside. On this one, you're going to see the kitchen is increased from that second plan you were looking at. It's important we make sure the kitchen has enough space, enough storage space. One of the big things, and people have asked me why we moved the location of the kitchen. And some of the feedback was that right now, as we don't use the full island, a lot of us kind of congregate on the one patio area right by the kitchen. We come off the pontoon, we kind of gather there, and really nobody makes it around to the north side other than the kids on the playground. And we worked to create a plan where the patio space was desirable to go out on that north side. That would be where the screened-in porch is. It's a great spot to watch kids if you're keeping an eye on them, if they're on the playground or out swimming. The flow between the kitchen and the bar, it kind of spreads us out. Also too, it just makes it, our idea is like a food service line when we, have buffets and things would be inside in our event hall, just to not have all the elements of outside. But it'll be beautiful in there. It'll be somewhere you want to be. So, but then it kind of draws you back outside to all the great seating or right at the windows where there's a spot.
It could be outside too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You could have your buffet outside too, but we kind of just wanted to incorporate and think through with a great flow if we are having it inside for any inclement weather, bugs, whatever it might be. So we're just trying to incorporate both an inside and outside, thinking through events with weddings. The event hall at this size holds 175 people for a wedding. Our goal is to get to 225 for sure, with extra seating all around our patio spaces and on the decks. So if you had an event, you would not have the need for a big tent out front with the allocation of all the table spaces.
I think, which is one thing that's important to point out. So one of the things that we love about this plan is it shrunk down in size. Instead of building an 11,000 some square foot building, this is closer to 8,500 square feet. But again, this is just our moment in time, but we're feeling really good that this will accommodate all of our needs without having to take up too much green space and really not that much bigger of a footprint. It is bigger than what we have right now, but not so much so that we're dropping this massive building on that island.
Mm-hmm. A big difference in our move from plan 2, which was the full two-story, to this third option is on full two-story, we did have boats, like our Optis and our prams tucked inside the building. So, we will be having pram and Opti racks out on, in the yard, back by LMSS side, over there. The rest of like our 420s and things are out on that docking plan, which is great. It kind of gets those off. And if you see boats lined up on the edge of the decking, those are really M15s, M19s, kind of the idea of where is sailing taking us. We've been hearing a lot of it's dry sailing. And so, you know, making sure there'd be space for new fleets that might need spots once Bug's full.
Just another small detail about this plan, the image on the right shows just kind of the beginning of that upper level. And over on the right there is almost more, think of it more of an attic. It is a second level, but think of it more attic-like. And so there would be stairs that would come up through the workshop that we would be able to use, especially for off-season storage, extra sales storage, you know, all kinds of things up above there, but a lot cheaper, kind of unfinished space that is fine for storage, but doesn't need all the, you know, the expense of the finishings up there. But then up on the left-hand side of that image, you see the observation deck. And that was one of the biggest things that in the surveys and the Zoom meetings before, the members kept saying, we want to maximize the views. We're there to see the lake. And we love this concept of having this wraparound deck there.
Mm-hmm. Let's see, any other parts? So like our race center, when we reference that, that's going to be kind of our highest technology classroom. Where if we have a guest coach come in, you know, that'd be a spot you could have a great lecture. It could be a spot where race committee uses it for a regatta, anything like that, any kind of big racing piece of it. That's going to be our best classroom with, you know, all the radios, all the extra bells and whistles that we have. And then the neighboring classroom to it is where it's the dividing wall in the middle. We could make it into one big classroom. We can make it into two smaller classrooms. It gives us a little flexibility in just how kids and numbers and programming. The bathrooms, people are probably curious, like what would that entail? The bathrooms would have 4 stalls in each of them, along with a good sized shower and sinks. So that, and then in the middle, you'll see a little thing. There's like a water fountain, drinking fountain thing there. Anything else we didn't put on, you guys? You know, where exactly the grills are going to go, we kind of have laid it out there, but the next steps for once we kind of get to a plan and decide we want to move forward with it, a landscaping company will be the ones that come in to help with the patio to make it just as we want it to be, design how grills should go, you know, what's the best functionality of spaces. So that's someone different than our architects. So we haven't really paid them to make it pretty with those elements right now, just because we'll bring in the experts to do that. Anything else? Bill? I think that.
In the event hall, there's a big fireplace. I don't know if you can tell what that is, but it's a big fireplace that's centered in the middle and then flanked by see-through glass trophy cases and memorabilia cases so that the hallway isn't dark and dingy. It's a really bright space that, you know, you can kind of see through into the event hall. So there isn't a long dark hallway anywhere in the interior.
And really just don't feel like the doors are set where the doors are exactly going and all that. That's really, they're kind of placeholders right now, just because we're getting a new flow to it as of this morning. It will be something that gets fine tuned once we do decide we're kind of headed down the right path here. So, but again, reducing this by about, 2,000 square feet from the plan 2 is, really helpful just in the overall pricing of things too. So that was a huge part of our goal as well. So, as well as just keeping what people wanted, so. Yeah,
So this is how it would, this is how it would sit on the island.
close, not curved.
Yeah, not quite there, but
Yep, it's just tilted a little bit so we get better views for sunsets. We're gonna kind of watch the angle of sunsets. I think people will note that the lawn in front will still be a great space. It's not encroaching too much into that front lawn. I'm trying to think if there's any other. We'll still get in on and off the pontoon boat exactly where we had before.
yeah, well, we'd love to hear, we're guessing that there's questions out there, comments, feel free if anyone has any questions, feel free to, air them here, we can talk about it, and then we can give you a little update on some of the other things that are happening with the development.
Talk about the rest.
Yeah, I saw a couple of people trying to talk. If you have a question, you'd have to unmute yourself if you're muted. Well, knowing this group, I have a hard time believing there's no questions, but we'll give you a chance to develop them. We can just talk about real quickly. There's a ton of activity happening. We have really 4 other committees happening right now. We have a fundraising committee. We have a org structure committee. We have a future finance committee, and we have our steering committee happening as well. I can speak, I guess, to all of them, even though, well, I'm on a lot of them, but I can update you on a few of them. Just real high level updates that are going on. Our org structure committee is great. We are looking at the leases and the agreements that exist between the yacht club and the sailing school to really kind of determine what's our best structure going forward. We've enlisted the help of a woman who's an attorney in Chicago who specializes in yacht clubs, in sailing schools, is also a CPA, and understands deeply the tax ramifications of the 2 organizations. And that committee is really progressing well and getting ready to make a recommendation to the steering committee, which will make it to the 2 organizations on what's best for the future of both organizations is from a structure and legal standpoint. The fundraising committee filled with also incredible people that are working really hard on this, have put together a pitch deck that is great, that really kind of encapsulates everything about our 2 organizations, and it's getting ready to go start in earnest our fundraising efforts. And so we are beginning to engage some donors to start to gauge interest in participating in the project and bringing them up to speed and talking to them about what our interests are. So our plan on all of this is to fundraise, is to do outside fundraising. This is not going to be led by a member assessment or anything like that, that this is going to be raised really through the community, not through a dues increase or anything along those lines. What else am I missing? The future finance has met. The future finance team is doing a really nice job of starting to model out what this is going to look like. You know, what's it going to cost to run this building? What's it going to mean for the members? What's it going to mean from a tax and insurance standpoint? And then what are all the new opportunities that we're going to have from a revenue standpoint? through programming and other things that we're gonna be able to do out here. So that committee is doing great. They're a little bit, you know, obviously a lot of things have to be finished before they can really dig into it in earnest, but they've done a really nice job of building a model that we'll be able to use going forward. And then the steering committee is a group of 7 of us, and that committee kind of oversees all the other committees and will make the formal recommendation to the boards. And so that committee meets every 2 weeks to kind of update on what's happening with the project, and keeping the boards appraised of what's happening as well. So that's what's happening on all the committees.
Can we talk about schedule?
Yeah. So this is Bill Barnett. Bill is many of you know, longtime member of the yacht club, and it's been a great help on this project.
So, a few comments about the schedule. Obviously, we're working very quickly. Our goal is towards the end of January to arrive at a conceptual design that we want to take forward into more detailed design. And then the goal then would be to start construction in May of 2025. A long-term,
No, not start construction.
so
Not,
yeah, we'd have a design build contract. I'm sorry. I misspoke. We have a contract.
yeah,
End of May.
yeah,
We have an obligation on the island in September of 2025 that we need to hold to. And then at that point, we can start construction.
yeah.
So we'll have some construction in the fall. Hopefully, the weather goes favorable for us. The long-term goal would be this is still to be determined, but be finished by mid-August or early August of 2026, so that we could host the big inland of 2026. So those are the high-level schedule things that we have. We're talking about with the contractor about how do we expedite and make construction on the island efficient. So I think those are some good highlights for you. We have not finalized on the decision to host the inland yet, although that commit date is coming up in mid-February. Am I correct on
A
that?
couple more weeks,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, but that's high level schedule. We've got a very detailed schedule that Pat Barrett's working on, but this is high level for you, shows you where we're going. Can you tell about some of the other things then?
Let's see, is there any questions or comments that anyone has?
There's some comments in the chat, Mark.
Oh, great. Can you tell us what, I can't read them. Can you tell
Yeah.
us what?
Yep. When would the fireplace be used? It seems nice but unnecessary.
So I don't think we know the details of whether it'd be a gas or wood burning fireplace. One of the gas,
Yeah,
Propane.
I guess it would be gas. Yeah, there you go. That was an easy decision. But one of the things fireplace related that was very strong comment from the survey in the Zoom sessions was interest in having the building accessible in the winter time. And it's something that we continue to look at as an option. There's not a definite, that comes with certainly some additional cost possibly to heat it year round. And we're kind of looking at varying degrees of heating it. We're gonna have nicer furniture than we have right now in this. And so this is not necessarily no matter what we do, we're gonna need places on this island that we can put furniture and other things that can't be frozen. So there will have to be heat in some parts of this building, whether it's part of it or all of it is all something that we're exploring. And so the fireplace is a design aesthetic and a possible function, thing that we would, element that we would have in there.
And part of the design, the layouts, all of them that we've been doing is trying to feel like and look at how could we section areas off, that parts that weren't heated and maybe a couple rooms that would be heated. So like in this example here, you might have your race center be something that's heated for like the ice boating season, your restrooms, the thought that they possibly could be used in the winter time. And maybe the workshop, so that zone right there because they're next to each other, but the classrooms behind it not heated, so we kind of insulate appropriately. But that's why some of the floor plans, we were thinking that through. How to make it be efficient, and make sense.
Somebody asked about the restrooms, so you'd had access to them even if the building is closed.
Yeah.
And I was looking at it and I was thinking, I mean, have you thought about putting them more like where the LMS office is and the LMS classroom, just swapping it so that, a lot of us, sail up to the dock and we want to go in the bathroom quick and get back on the boat. And it's kind of convenient now because they're kind of right by the door. I don't know if that's a thought, but being in the middle of the building like that makes it a little harder. And then you got people going in there that got wet clothes on and I don't know, just a thought.
We did talk about it being, off hours, how you could lock, so that hallway is intended where like the door back by the kitchen could get you into the restrooms. We hadn't really thought about sailing up to the dock and kind of a jump and go in the closest location. We're trying to keep them a little bit close to where they are just for am I right, Bill, the plumbing and
The underground plumbing and the pumping station that goes to
Yeah.
the main line.
we had to move them.
Yeah, if you're moving the kitchen over there, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good comment though, Jeff. It definitely say we'll take a look at.
Yeah.
It is designed where, I guess as you look at that left-hand side of the building, where the event hall is and the bar and the kitchen, all that can be closed off. So, when sailing school's in session or the quote unquote yacht club is not in use, that area could be closed off and the restrooms could still be accessible, at that time. But it's a interesting comment about getting to them.
I see the question about storms, where will kids go in that, and so we absolutely are talking with the architects and builders, where are if there's a tornado, what are the spaces that are built to be safe areas to go? So we don't have those figured out right now, again, just because we kind of moved around the whole floor plan. But once we kind of get to the floor plan, then we'll make sure the interior spaces away from windows are set up and designed so that there's a safe place for kids to go, anyone to go actually on the island, if they're out there in a storm or whatnot. It's on our list. Great question.
So we do see a comment there regarding ADA, American Disabilities Act. And in our discussions with the architect, they are keenly aware of that, the need to comply with those requirements.
Yeah.
And this plan there's only one classroom up in this one, and it's an unfinished classroom, and there are accessible spaces all on the lower level.
And we might add that if we were to go to a second level plan that you saw earlier, there would be an elevator or a lift.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question kind of on that note. So is it basically just all fundraising dependent on which floor plan you use? Like, how does that decision get made? Do you need to sort of commit to it early, or I imagine the situation is extremely fluid, but maybe you could kind of explain that process?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, fluid's a great way to describe it, Mike. We're still working through these plans. We are in the weeds on these plans. I think there's kind of a couple different schools of thought. I mean, there's no doubt that version 2 that you saw was more expensive. But these are still concepts, and we're getting bids, but these bids are 1 page long and eventually they're gonna be 10 pages long in detail. And so, you know, we're still kind of back of the envelope to a certain extent. I will say that this version that you're looking at right now, what we call version 3, is feeling more and more like the answer. We haven't done the renderings and all the elevations to it yet and all that, but it feels more and more like the right answer. It's the answer that solves all the needs that members have asked for, and allows us to keep as much green space as possible. It allows us to essentially future-proof the island in being able to maximize kind of on-land storage. So it checks a lot of boxes for us. So I don't know if there's necessarily a certain plan that if we can raise this much, we'll be able to do version X, and if we can't, we'll do version Y. I don't think we're quite at that point right now.
Well, in version 2, it should be noted that version 2 did not meet the needs after talking to the coaches, and it wasn't the ideal situation. So while it was even more expensive and it didn't meet the needs. So if we decide to do a bigger, grander 11,000 square foot space, if we feel like that's what the membership needs, then it won't probably be that plan exactly either.
Yeah.
We don't have that bigger, we haven't found the right huge plan if we decide we want to make it huge.
So, related to that, Bill Barnett speaking, on our detailed schedule, we have a date of basically May 1 for making obtaining steering committee approval to move forward with detailed design. Up until that point, we will have fundraising going forward, and we will know at that time how much, pretty good idea what our funding is going to be. But at that point in early May is when we need to lock into, and what our contractor calls, we design to a budget. And that's when we really get serious and talk about the details.
Did you guys, so the plan is to just scrape the whole thing. There's no remodeling here at all, right? This is just because you turn the building, and there wouldn't be any reuse of what's there.
So
I can't hear him.
Jeff asked, is the plan to scrape the whole thing? So, great question, Jeff. So in version 2 and version 3, yes, that is the case. Version 1, which if there's interest, we can show the pictures at the risk of confusing everyone. But version 1 was what we would call a remodel. And there was some potential advantages to that, in that parts of it, we could use the existing foundation, we think. And the remodel is used loosely in that it would be basically taken down to the studs. But because that foundation in the areas where we think we could use it is there could be some potential savings to it.
But you're not moving so much material off the island and back on again. And I'm just thinking.
Yep, no doubt. There's definitely some potential savings there, and I use it as potential because that building's been there for a long time. And when we start breaking open walls, there's a lot of unknowns as to what we're going to get into. And yeah, and we get it, and we would, there's certainly a part of us that would like to see the possibility that we could use part of that. But as we've gotten into it, and as we've tried to layer in all the different needs, that's where we started to get that sprawl. And we also are growing out to, 11,000, almost 12,000 square feet. We're taking up a lot of the green space and getting to a point where it's, it was a little uncomfortable for us. So we hear you. Nothing is being ruled out at this point, but right now, kind of this direction that we're showing you is where we're focused. Well, let's just, let's see here. I see a question here. Is it possible to see pictures of version 3, what the outside will look like? Stay tuned for that, not tonight. But we just got this, what you're seeing right now today. And so that's the next thing that the architects are working on, is that, are those renderings. So that'll be coming. I see a question here. Is the club a 501c7? I think it says. My eyes are not great. Tax status. If so, outside revenue services cannot exceed 15%. So yes. So the yacht club is a 501c7. The sailing school is a 501c3. It is very much being looked at and to see what the best structure is between the two organizations. But it's a good point and definitely something we're aware of and looking at.
The current clubhouse square
Yeah,
footage.
I meant to look at that.
I think it's around 6,000, give or take.
The question is, what's the current, yeah.
Sorry, yeah.
What's the current square footage? I think it's 6,500, somewhere in the 6,500 range when you include the outbuildings of the sailing school.
Hey, can you guys hear me? This is John Wick speaking.
Yeah, hi, John.
Hey, you guys. This all looks really good. I love the layout too for all the dockage, although I don't know about getting the judges boat into the race committee spot there with the launch in the way, but we'll figure that out. But hey, my question is, if you can just briefly take us back to the 50,000 foot view of this whole project and just let everybody, what again is like the driving reason, or the club business problem and the sailing school business problem that we're trying to solve by doing this. I think this is all great. It's great work, but I'm still not 100% aware of what is driving the project from the highest level.
Yeah, it's a great question, John. So it started, to be perfectly transparent, it started at the sailing school level, and then it picked up the yacht club. At the sailing school level, we're blessed and fortunate to have grown quite a bit, and we feel like we're just kind of getting started with where we want to take the program. But from just a numbers standpoint, we've gone in just a few years from roughly 600 and 650 students to over 1,300 students last year. We've essentially doubled the size of our operation. And we are both out of classroom space to be able to accommodate those, and the buildings that we have are in very, very rough shape, to put it mildly. Something absolutely has to be done with them. So that was what started it. And then we've kind of layered in the yacht club in these discussions and said, if we're gonna do something with the sailing school, it makes sense to do this as a yacht club. And we have a building out there that has, we feel really kind of outkicked its coverage. I mean, it was never meant to last as long as it has. And while it's still there and there's parts of it that we love, it's the old recliner that we love, but we don't really like to look at it. But it's really not setting us up for the future of what we want to do and the future for the members and the kind of next generation. So that's really, how this all got started, is to try to get this to something that we can pass on to the next generation of sailors and members. Yeah. Laura just kindly reminded me that there are some definite safety issues out there as far as safe spaces for storms and just, really just traversing across the yacht club is getting harder and harder as things are falling apart.
Maintenance is becoming costly.
Yeah, thank you. And yes,
Maintenance
maintenance,
is becoming costly.
yeah, we're starting to spend, good money at bad problems.
Electrical and plumbing is.
Yeah.
Can you read any more of these?
Let's see here.
Guiding principles around funding. Are we committed to fundraising to cover entire cost to build, or would the club potentially take on debt?
Yeah, so our what are the guiding principles for fundraising? Are we committed to fundraising to cover the entire cost, or club potentially take on debt? The hope is to not take on debt for the project. We are trying to fundraise for the entire thing, and not only fundraise for the entire build, but we're also trying to build a $3 million endowment to assure the long-term financial health of the building and the programs is what we're trying to do. Bug Island improvements. Are there opportunities to help improve this structure as part of the plan? On the cheap, level ground, small covered structure for rain, covered dock improvements, amen, I say. I think there's some discussions that have started to happen. It's a little outside of the scope of this committee, this building committee, but I know that there's certainly interest there. I think there are some plans to do some, at the very least, some regrading and improvements to make Bug Island a little bit easier to navigate. But I know that there are some ideas around kind of a simple structure and maybe a bathroom solution of some sort out there to help the members. So yeah, definitely something being considered. Carson's too, yeah.
Yeah, Mark, I might just make a comment on the Carson situation. Like, we're starting to plan for the dinghy inlets and things like that. And, we want to build our Melgus 15 fleet and maybe in the future a 19 fleet. So even like things like boat ramps at Carson's or just, some way to make our event hosting capacity smoother. Because obviously with a new building, we're going to want to get some national championships and things like that to the club. So obviously this isn't like a lighthouse island issue, but it's probably just worth mentioning that should be something that should be on the minds of the membership and the admin as well.
Yeah, it's a great point, Mike. Thank you. We keep talking about the future of sailing in many ways is boats on dollies. Bug Island is basically at capacity or near capacity every year. We've been blessed with this Melgus 15 and now there's a Melgus 19. And those are all boats that can be on dollies. And we have fewer and fewer members in general that live on the lake. And so we need to be able to service those boats on dollies. And to your point, that really starts at CBF. So definitely something for everyone to be considering going forward. Scott asks, are annual operating costs of the new options being estimated, including the impact of the new building on property taxes and insurance?
Yes.
Yes, the answer is yes, very much. That's the future finance committee and really all of us are keenly aware of the costs and the future costs that are going to be involved. So yes, is the quick answer. Isn't a large complaint from the ILYA members regarding inland event is logistics. What Mike described, I agree, we'll have this great space and to attract those events, to leverage the space and can't read it.
And
We'll
fundraise.
fundraise, we'll need better
Logistics.
logistics.
Good comment by Mike.
Good comment by Mike.
Agreed.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You know, all I can say is I've been on the board of the sailing school, for a long time. I think there's never been a time where the sailing school and yacht club have worked better at, not just this project, but trying to solve these things long-term, for both organizations so that they can thrive and host these great events. We have, some really great leaders, running these organizations with the new Gretchen and Mike Hansen on board. And then Claire Leeper and Sam Bartel, running the sailing school. They're doing a great job, and it makes all of these things possible. And exciting to look at these things and how they can work together to solve them, so. It's an exciting time to be involved in the both clubs. Any other questions? These have been great.
Yeah, let me check on that for you. Anytime. Get help with your Medicare prescription, like for neighborhood.
I'm not sure, someone's out shopping, but, if there are no other questions, we'll sign off. We would love to hear your comments, though. If you'd rather reach out to us directly, you can reply back to any of our emails. We're happy to talk to you. We really want to hear from everyone and for everyone to feel like they were able to participate in this. So please reach out if you have any questions or comments, and then we'll also continue to update you. We'll probably have another one of these sessions in roughly, I'd say 4 to 6 weeks, probably to keep everyone posted. Remember, none of this stuff is final. We're just trying to check in and keep everyone involved. So, all right. Well, thank you, everyone, and look forward to seeing you on the water hopefully soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Great job.
Thank you. Bye-bye.